Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Lead Through Sport, the podcast, aka Spotlight Thursdays. I'm your host, Todd Scott, aka T Scotty on the socials. And today we have a very special guest, a Hampton U alum, Hampton University track and field alum, 2020 Tokyo Olympian, Nigerian descent, Jamaican descent, dual citizen, all that good stuff. I have Chidi Okezie. How you doing, man?
Doing pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing well, man. I can't complain. Just ready to get this interview underway because I know you got a lot of good stuff to talk about.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, Lead Through Sport is a platform that spotlights former and current athletes, entrepreneurs, and creatives on their journey to success, providing people with knowledge nuggets for life. And I know you embody all of that. So let's go ahead and get started, man. Give us your age, educational, athletic background, and a fun fact.
So I am 28 years old, from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. When I was at Hampton University, I studied sports management, got my master's in sports administration. And one fun fact, even though I'm 6'6", I have never played basketball a day in my life.
Yo, I know when you was in high school, I know you had them coaches pulling you left and right, like, yo, we need a center. We need somebody that can block shots, do this and that. I know they was at you.
Yeah, I remember, I think it was my 10th grade year, the JV coach came to me. It's like, yeah, we need you to play basketball. Tryouts is Wednesday. So I was ready to talk to my track coach about it. Wednesday came around. The basketball coach was like, yeah, since you run track, you won't be able to play. And I was like, what? He's like, yes, because your track meets are on the weekends and we're going to need you. And I was like, well, you don't said I could just come to the games. And I was like, okay.
Now they won't having it. That's funny. So let's go ahead and get into it, man. You ran for the Nigerian National Team and you anchored the mixed 4x400 relay race and you guys won. First of all, before we get to the Tokyo Olympics, tell me about that experience and what that was like.
So the experience leading up to the Olympics was probably like the most nerve-wracking, overwhelming feeling ever. It's like watching the buzzer countdown because like it was maybe I was in Nigeria for 2-3 weeks.
Uh-huh.
So they had a bunch of different meets set up for us to qualify. So the first few times we tried the open events in the 4x4, it's all males, all females. And then we kept coming short by like 2 seconds. But we were like 5 seconds ahead of second place. So it was like, dang, every time we tried, it was like this close until like the last opportunity. It was like, okay, instead of running the 4x4, we're going to run the mixed relay instead. So we all was like, okay, that sounds like a good opportunity.
Yeah.
So when we broke the national record at the time it was the national record. And then on like the board, like say you take top 16, we was the 16th team that qualified. So it was like, oh, okay, we finally did it.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of emotions going on. Everybody was happy because a lot of people said we couldn't do it. So then once we did it, it was like, congrats.
Yeah, I know y'all was on 10. I know y'all was on 10 that whole time.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing.
Yeah, and the Olympics was in July. So when was that race?
That race was, I want to say, June. I think it was like June 19th. So
okay, so that time period between then and July 2020, what was the process for you guys like as far as getting ready? You know, just all that kind of stuff.
It was like it was funny because a lot of people was like, "You made the Olympics. How did it feel?" And I was like, "Right now, it still feel unreal. It's like I'm still trying to pack all my bags, trying to figure out what I would need, what I wouldn't need, because I have a habit of overpacking, and then I'll leave some of the major things I'll need. So it was like calling some of my friends who traveled to like the Olympics before, like, yeah, what do you need? What can you bring? What can't you bring?
Yeah.
So trying to tie up all loose ends in that little time span was pretty crazy.
Yeah, and I know that was still nerve-wracking too. Had to be. So you guys take off for Tokyo, excited about the opportunity, all that good stuff, and then you guys get there, and you realize that you can't compete. Like, this is a once in a lifetime moment, and now you guys get that taken away from you. Can you tell us when that news happened? Like, tell us when your race was and when you got the news.
Okay, so I want to say, let me see. It was, see, our race was the weekend, and I found out probably a week before. So we was in like the training camp before we got to the village. It was
And
like
y'all were in
random.
Tokyo, right?
So we wasn't in Tokyo, but we was in the neighboring city, like maybe 30 minutes away from Tokyo. So me and my teammates were in the room playing the game. It's probably like 11 o'clock at night when the coaches came in to the room. He was like, he looked around for a second. He was like, what's going on, coach? Everything okay? He was like, yeah, I got some news. Did everybody get like their doping tests? He was like, one person was like, yeah, I took one. Other person was like, yeah, I took two. Someone else was like, yeah, I had a bunch. And I was like, nope, never got a test before. And he was like, yeah, Chidi, that's not right. That's not good, he said. And I was like, well, I'm in Tokyo now, so like what more can we do?
Yeah.
And he was like, right now it looks like you won't be able to run, but we're gonna see what happens. Then he leaves. Meanwhile, this is like 11 o'clock, and we were supposed to leave for Tokyo or go to the village like in 2 days. So now everybody in the room is like, oh, I don't know what's going on. So I was like, at this point, I'm just gonna go to sleep because ain't nothing for me to do. I'm not gonna ruin this trip stressing over that. So, and then after that, it was just like every day it was a new situation. They was trying to figure things out and find loopholes, but it was like no loopholes, no nothing. So it was like that is what it was. What it was.
And but none of y'all got a chance to run, correct?
Yeah, it was, or some people did. So it was 15 people, or it was 10 athletes who weren't able to run. Out of the 10, a lot of us were based in the US. And most people who were based in the US who were able to run, they were in like the top 15 in their event in the world. So it's like different doping agencies. So they got tested by a different agency.
Got you. So what do you feel like? Are they currently fixing that problem so it doesn't happen again?
Currently, it looks like some people are doing a little bit more because the issue was the old administration. So right before the Olympics, they had like a whole clean house and they got a new administration. So the people who were in the administration before, they took it lightly, like, oh yeah, this is a doping thing. Our athletes ain't doping, so we don't really got to worry about it. But the rule was like, just because, like, say Nigeria just got entered into that category. So before it was like everybody needs one test. So since that situation, now everyone needs 3 tests. Nigeria, the administration who was in office before was like, oh yeah, it's not that big of a deal. So they took it real lightly until they realized like it's not a lightly matter. They're trying to clean house. So now the people who, since the Olympics, I can only speak what happened at the Olympics in that committee. We put some things in place, or we try to put things in place, like make sure athletes get tested, XYZ, have a open, transparent communication between the athletes and the administration. Because before it was like you wouldn't know who you're talking to. People would message you like, "Oh yeah, you need to do ABC," and we do it, and then nothing will happen afterwards. So now it's looking like things are moving in the right direction, but only time will tell.
That's real. Yeah, I just hope something like that never happens again because people only get one. Sometimes people only get one shot at an opportunity like that, and got to make sure situations like that don't occur. So let's go ahead and talk about your journey to making the Olympics. You ran track at HU Hampton University from 2011 to 2015, and you having a lot of accomplishments in between there. What was your experience like at HU, and what got you to the level you were at to get that opportunity to be an Olympian?
So one thing that was like real good for me, and being at like an HBCU, everybody always looked down on us, being like, okay, you're not the you're not Florida or the SEC schools or the Power 5 at that. So a lot of people think that just because we had a small school, you can't compete at the high level. And then going to Hampton, it was a bunch of Olympians that came prior to me. So it's this board at Hampton, and it's like all the Hampton alumni that are Olympians. So every day I used to look at the board like, yep, I'm the next Olympics. So I got to put my name on this board. Like every day before practice, I'm like, yep, sooner or later, I'm going to get my name on this board. And then being around some of the people like B. Jones, Brandon Jones, Yvette Lewis, Francina McCory, those are Hampton alums who are always around. So you see like their work ethic and just like, okay, if I keep putting in work like them, I can eventually make the Olympics too.
That's real. And you have, I looked it up, you have in between first and second team All MEACs, you have a collective of 12 All MEAC honors. And you also have an All-American honor in there too. That's high level. That's high level. And you're also I think your coach name was Maurice Pierce, right?
Yes.
And there's only been, he took over early 2000s, I believe. There's only been 8 Olympians since that time period he took over. That's a big accomplishment.
It's real big, huge.
That's a real big accomplishment. So you graduate from there, and you've ran in a number of, championships and, games and all of that. But there's a couple I want to highlight. You were in the African Championships, and you were a bronze medalist in 2016. And you also took part in the Gold Coast Commonwealth Games and the All Africa Games, where you were a bronze medalist in 2019. Tell me about those, your experiences, running in the other countries and, just gaining that experience and, just the environment it was like. I'm not a track guy, so I want to know, the details about like what that's like.
Okay, so I'll start with 2016 in Durban. I was African Championships in Durban in 2016. So that was my first competition for Nigeria. It was, at the time, I looked lightly upon it. I didn't really know what I was accomplishing. But then it was funny because one of the Nigerian coaches was like, at that race, it was Botswana was a favorite to get first, second, and third. And then I broke that up by getting third. And the next Botswanian got fourth. So my coach was like, that's a big honor right there, because Botswana was going to sweep, and then there's going to be the favorite to win the 4x4 and like so much. So getting that medal meant a lot to me because it was my first international medal. And then moving to 2019, that one was in Nigeria, which was probably like the best track meet I ever ran, just off of the environment. A lot of things with like technical issues, but that always comes and goes. But the environment of having it's like having a home basketball game. Like the crowd, like a lot of people didn't know who I was, but they see my jersey, they see my bib number. So they was like very excited, like, yeah, go Chidi, go. Like, I want you to win. So it was this, like, the walking from like the call room to the track. So it was like from the bottom of the track all the way to the top of the track. I'm walking. Typically, I like to stay in my zone. The whole crowd is chanting my name, and I'm just like, whoa, I'm getting chills, and just like, like this right here is a unreal feeling, because it's like hard to explain, but like literally the whole stadium chanting your name. It's like, whoo,
crazy. Gotta be crazy. Yeah, that's real. That's real. So is there any I envision you played team sports when you were younger coming up. Is there any extra pressure, being the only, when you run, not with like the 4x4, it's just you being an individual? Is it different? Like, is it a different feeling, not being in that team setting and racing?
I'll say yes. It's definitely like a added pressure, but the way I look at it, and a lot of people look at it, it's like practice. You go through it every day. You run every day, and like you can control what you do. It's like, unlike say basketball, football, you have to rely on like that perfect pass the perfect shot. Sometimes the ball will hit the rim and roll off. Sometimes the wind will take the ball a little bit to the left when you predicting it to come one way, but with track it's just you. So it's like you control your left foot and your right foot. You control your race pattern. Sometimes like you will get out your head sometimes, but the goal is just to keep training, keep practicing. You got to practice what you will do in the competition, because most times practice should be way harder than the track meet. The track meet, you just got one time to do it, and it's like once that's over, it's done. Most times it takes less than a minute from the start to the finish.
Yep, that's universal too. The practices should always be harder than the games in any sport. That's real. That's real. So we're gonna move on. We're gonna play one of my favorite games. It's called W2. So I'm gonna ask you a set of questions, and you got to choose between two things and tell me why you chose it. So, first question: if you had a chance to redo any one part of your life, what part would it be?
Any part? I'll definitely say like my high school process going into college, because I didn't take, like, say, the recruitment process serious. I wish I was able to go on more college tours. I probably would have chose Hampton, looking at like what I went through, but like going through, like I didn't tour Hampton. I didn't go on any recruitment trips. One of my friends was like, "Yeah, you should come to Hampton." And I was like, okay, sure, why not?
Yeah.
And that was it.
I got you. That makes sense. Which two artists would fulfill your dream versus battle? Yeah. Any genre.
Right now, I definitely have to say Kanye versus Drake. I feel like both of them have a whole lot of hits, and I feel like it's gonna be hit after hit after hit.
Yeah.
And then I feel like Kanye with the producing, the old Kanye to the new Kanye.
Yeah.
Drake, Drake has so many different genres that he could tap into, so many hits, #1 Billboard. So definitely want to see
Who you got winning it?
I don't know. I have to say that I just want to see it. It's gonna be one of them like great performances. It's no winners, just great music.
Nobody's probably gonna care because the music gonna be so good.
Yeah, it's gonna be like hit after hit. You can't. It's no winner.
Facts. So, if you could time travel, which era would you choose to live your 20s in? The 80s, 90s, or the 2000s, based upon the culture, the vibes, everything that decade had to offer, the economy, all that. Yeah, I had a hard time answering that one too.
Yeah, that's tough right there. That is tough. I'll say definitely. I think the 80s.
The 80s.
Okay. I feel like the 80s was just like a free time, just live. Everybody was having fun.
Yeah.
I'll just definitely, it's a lot of the crime. I feel like crime happens all the time, but I feel like I'll be in college in the 80s, so I feel like that would be a lot of fun. No social media, so everybody's living free.
Everybody's living in the moment.
Yeah, like no Snapchat, no Instagram live, and it's just straight. And then one thing, it was funny because I was talking to one of my mentors. She was like, when she went to Hampton in the 80s, it was more personal. Everybody would have to talk to people one-on-one, face-to-face. Now people get lost in the sauce because they're in Snapchat, they're in like DMs and stuff like that. Before, we didn't have cell phones. So if you wanted to see somebody, you had to go physically knock on their door, find out where they're at. So I feel like the 80s definitely would be a time.
Hey man, that's the element. Sorry to interrupt. That's the element that I miss today. Like the element of actually communicating face to face. And I feel like that's kind of hurting not kind of, but it's really hurting our generation. Big time.
Definitely.
Big time. Last question. Where do you think you would be right now if you never ended up running track? Where would you be right now today on Thursday, February 10th? What do you think you'd be doing?
That is a great question. Honestly, I do not know where I'll be because I say a lot of my time I invested into track. Once I started playing sports, it was like I was after school straight to sports. So sports was a lot of my life. So that is a real interesting thing. I don't know.
maybe playing maybe maybe you would have tapped into basketball, maybe be a basketball coach or something
Maybe before I started running track, I played football. So, but then I probably would be retired by now. But because let me see. If I didn't run track, I don't know.
For me, knowing you, I think you would probably be in the same spot, just because you're a coach now. You would probably just be coaching something else if you never got involved with track. That's just my opinion, though.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking in my head, but I was like, if I didn't run track, would I still be an athlete? That's the question. I was thinking, because before I started playing sports, I always wanted to be an engineer and an architect. So then I realized the time constraints with that. So I was like, yeah, I got to make a choice.
That's real. So speaking of track, I want to talk about what you're doing today. I know you're still running track, but you are a part of the Vertex Performance community. Tell us a little bit about what you do for Vertex Performance.
So at Vertex, I'm like the special CEO to the assistant, or the special assistant to the CEO. So with that, I have a lot of hands-on things with marketing, trying to bring people inside the doors, and also am a speed and power coach. So help the kids unlock their power. A lot of the people have a lot of strength, but they don't know how to utilize it. And I also try to teach the kids how to sprint effectively. So with that, unlocking some key moments and key body movements, because a lot of times we work with a lot of different age ranges. So a lot of times kids are just growing new parts. So they're trying to realize how to use their body. Most times they don't know how to. And that's my job to help them understand this is how you move. If you move this arm, this leg should move like this. You're I always try to tell them, controlling from your head to your toe.
And for those who don't know, Vertex Performance is located in Newport News, Virginia. And it's basically like a strength and conditioning organization, correct? And they also,
peak performance. So it's like a peak performance training facility. So if you want to get and we do all sports, mainly baseball, track, football, softball, any sport that requires movement, we can help you.
That's real. And you're a high level athlete, and you've been a high level you're still a high level athlete today. And being in the coaching realm now, I want to ask you, what part of your athletic career do you feel like you're the most, how can I say this, the most you feel like you can teach the best and can relate to the student athletes of today that you work with?
So I'll say definitely just the process, because I was in a place just like them. I was linky. I didn't know how to use my body. So when I move, I'll be all over the place. And then understanding what my coaches will say. A lot of times, as an athlete, you always believe that what you do is the right way. And if it worked before, what are you telling me that doing it this way gonna change? But I seen through various coaches will say the smallest detail, if you do this, your whole thing will change. So then working with the kids, I can see it more. I'll tell somebody something oh, do this. And I can see their brains start to try to formulate what I'm saying. And then when I see them try to put into action, it's yep. So now I know what you're trying to do. So now let me help you by moving your body like this, put some elastic bands on you so you can feel the resistance and stuff like that. So definitely understanding, because I was once in their shoes being coached up.
Yeah, that's right. I love that. So last question. What is next overall for Chidi, man? Where do you see yourself, 5 years from now?
In 5 years from now, I feel like huge things gonna come. Take the Vertex, a lot of things to the next level. Trying to expand the team, trying to impact as much people as possible. I'm just trying to make Chidi Okezie a household name and just make an impact, make a change in the world.
That's right. I gotta get some bombs on here. So after somebody say somebody get the DJ Funk Flex bomb on here. But nah, yeah. Just keep hitting it. But yeah, man, I love all of that, man. I appreciate you coming on today. Anybody, any student athletes or any athletes that's watching this right now and you're in the 757 area, please get with Chidi or me as well. So we can get you in the Vertex Performance facility because they offer a lot. Very good people, high-level pros. The guy that owns the place, he used to play in the MLB, college football player. Chidi's an Olympian, so they have a lot of people in there that can help you reach that peak performance. So definitely tap in with them. Last, I have one more question. I lied. Are you gonna train to actively participate in the 2024 Olympics, or are you done with that?
Yeah. So currently, I'm still training every day, still trying to hit goals and still accomplish things, because even though I made it to the Olympics, my dream is to run in the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still training, still going hard, still trying to be number one.
Got you. Love that. Go ahead. Where can we find you on social media?
So my social media is Chidi Bang Bang. That's Instagram. And on Facebook, Chidi A.Okezie. And that's Facebook. Twitter, not really too active on Twitter. So
That's real. You have any last words for the viewers? Anything you want to leave them with?
Last thing I'll say, I'm a Sixers fan. It just came in that James Harden would now be a 76er. Yep. So Ben Simmons is now going to be on the Nets.
Oh no!
It's crazy.
I forgot I was live for a second. That's crazy. Right after this, I gotta go tap into that. But yeah, that's some good stuff, man. I appreciate you joining me today. For those who like these videos that I be dropping, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Go ahead and leave a comment. Go ahead and get us going. You can find me on social media at @tscotty_ on Twitter and Instagram. You can also follow my life development business page at _rise to the occasion on Instagram. And go ahead and tap in with us. Chidi, I appreciate you again, man.
No problem. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, sir. See you soon.
See you.